What if I told you Meta, the company behind Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is building an app where you don't scroll posts, you bet on the future? Not gambling in the traditional sense, not stock trading either. Something in between. A system where you can literally trade on questions like, will AI replace more jobs this year? Who wins the next election? Will a viral trend hit 1 billion views? And here's the twist. Meta is doing it with a game-like system first, and possibly real money later. This is not a side experiment. This could reshape how people consume information online. Let me show you why. Prediction markets aren't new. They already exist on platforms like Polymarket, Kalshi. And they work like this. Instead of guessing with opinions, people trade probabilities. If you think something is likely, you buy a yes position. If you think it won't happen, you buy no. The price becomes a crowd-powered probability. So if a contract is trading at 0.72, the market is basically saying, open quote, there's a 72% chance this happens, close quote. And surprisingly, these markets are often more accurate than polls. Now, here's where things get interesting. Recent reports show Meta is building a new app internally called Arena, and it's not just another social app. It's a prediction market platform, but with a twist. At launch, it may not use real money. Instead, users earn points, like a competitive game. So instead of, open quote, I'm risking money on this prediction, close quote, it becomes, open quote, I'm building status by being right before everyone else, close quote. That's a very different psychological system, and Meta knows exactly what it's doing. 210, why Meta is doing this. Meta has a clear pattern. When it sees a behavior shift online, it tries to productize it. Short video, Reels, Twitter-like feeds, Threads, dating apps, Facebook dating. Now it's targeting something bigger, forecasting as social behavior. Because prediction markets are growing fast, billions in trading volume already, potentially heading toward a $1 trillion category. But Meta doesn't need to win on finance first. It has something more powerful. Open quote, 3.5 billion daily users, close quote. That means it doesn't need adoption. It can inject adoption. Header 310, why this is different from gambling. At first glance, this looks like betting, but prediction markets are structurally different. Traditional gambling, house sets odds, you versus casino. Prediction markets, you versus crowd, price equals collective belief. You can exit anytime. That makes them closer to financial markets, information aggregation systems. But Meta's version might shift that again, because if it's points-based, it stops being finance and becomes social competition about truth. There's a deeper question here. What happens when politics, news, entertainment, and truth itself are turned into a game of incentives? Critics argue this could encourage manipulation, reward hype over accuracy, blur gambling and information, amplify viral misinformation loops. Especially if Meta later adds real money, because then the stakes are no longer symbolic. They're financial. Cash 450, the real strategy. Here's the key insight most people miss. Meta doesn't need prediction markets to be perfect. It only needs them to be, open quote, addictive enough to form habits, close quote. The likely progression looks like this. 1. Points-based prediction game, safe, social. 2. Leaderboards plus status economy. Creator-influencer prediction battles. 4. Event-based engagement loops. 5. Optional monetization layer. At that point, it stops being a product. It becomes a behavior layer on top of the internet. Why this could be huge. If Meta succeeds, prediction markets stop being niche finance tools. They become a new way to measure public opinion, a real-time truth scoreboard, a social media layer for forecasting reality, and importantly, Meta would own the distribution, not the algorithm, not the content, but something deeper. Open quote, what people believe will happen next. Close quote. So the real question isn't whether Meta can build a prediction market. It's whether people will start treating predicting the future like a game. Because if that happens, then liking content might be replaced by something far more powerful. Open quote, betting your reputation on what happens next. Close quote. If you found this useful, I break down tech shifts like this every week. Subscribe, because the next wave of the internet isn't about content, It's about belief.